Hey everyone, in this video we are going to take a look at the free-to-use 3D modeling application MagicaVoxel, which is available on GitHub to be downloaded for free. And in this video we're going to look at how to make a scythe, a sickle, basically any kind of shape that's curved and it's wider at the bottom and goes to a point. So you could even use this for, say, a shark fin. But typically, I think people watch these tutorials because they're looking for items for their games, and certainly your game could have a shark fin, but more than likely it's going to have items and weapons. So first we want to get rid of the default block. So that's just Control A and then the delete key. Control A is typical Windows soft keys. It selects everything, and then delete deletes whatever is selected. To rotate around like this is just hold right mouse button down and then move the mouse. So what we're going to do, we're going to create the blade first. So if you haven't watched the other tutorials, MagicaVoxel has a series or a set of 6 brushes, 6 tools, but 3 different modes. So depending on what combination of brush and mode you're in depends on what you're doing. So we're going to start with circle and we're going to start with attach. Now, unlike most paint programs, when you start drawing the circle, you're not starting in the upper left or lower right corner. Instead, you're starting in the center. So, since I want most of this box to be the blade, I'm going to start towards the lower right corner, but I need to leave a few spaces, and you'll see why in a minute. So just going to left click and drag out the circle. You don't have to go right to the edge. That's fine. So now what we need to do, we need to now use the circle tool to carve this away. So in that regard, it's kind of like 3D Builder, an application that I've really said good things about that I really like because it takes all the technical aspects of 3D modeling and basically gives you a set of like carving tools, a set of kind of like chiseling tools, and that you start with a primitive and then you carve away what you don't want. Well, this is a little bit similar. You certainly have a selection of build tools. As you saw, we just used the attach tool to create the circle, but you can also use the same tool to carve away. So you go to erase mode. Now, to have the top be wider than this, that means we need to reach this side before this side. So to do that, that means we have to start lower than the center. So you do not want these circles to have a concentric, that you don't want them to be concentric. You don't want them to have the same center point. So you want to reach up here later, but reach over here sooner. So that means you're going to want to come like 3 blocks down. It's not exact, whatever looks right to you, and like 3 blocks over. And then you just carve away. And could actually keep that, could keep that, whatever looks right to you. I think that looks pretty good because of this. You get that tiny point. And now what we do, we keep it as erase, but we click on V, and we get rid of that one. Now what we want to do, we want to make the block bigger. That way we have room for the handle. So we're going to change this to, say, 50, and this to 50. We don't need to change the final one. The final one is Z. Z is up in MagicaVoxel. But as you can see, it just made the block bigger. So let's take the blade. So first we're going to click on the Move tool. And if you're looking down from above, you're going to move it this way. But if you rotate it like this, and you grab this side, then you'll be moving it up. So we only need it to move up 1 because we're going to center it in the staff, the handle, whatever. Now we'll just move this up. Actually, let's leave a couple. That way, if we want, we can add a point to the top. Okay, so we probably should have just used the right color to begin with, but no big deal. We can use, say, like a light gray color. We can change to the facing, and now we change to paint. So like I said, you've got these brushes, but then you have these different modes. So we looked at attach and erase, now we're going to look at paint. So we're just painting that facing, and it's painted. So now what we're going to do, we are going to take attach and now block, and let's choose like a brown color for the handle. And we are just going to draw that out. How does that look? Okay. Looks like I raised it up 2 rather than 1, but that's fine. So now a couple of things you can do. You can either do block again, or you can just do facing. Move it up. And so if we want it to be centered, we have to do that. And then we'll move this facing out to make this a little bit more roundish. So with facing selected and attach selected, we'll move that out a couple. And then what we can do is we can get rid of the edges, and that makes it round-ish. So it all depends how voxel you want it to be. So if we get rid of, so we go to erase, and then L for line. And as you can see, the direction you're looking at makes all the difference as far as how useful these tools are. That's just left click and drag, left click and drag, left click and drag, and trying to get a good perspective. Left click and drag. There we go. So that's about the roundish you usually see something in a voxel-based game. Okay, so if you decide you want the handle to be a little bit bigger, let's see, is that Y60? Yes, it is. So again, you can click on the move tool, move the whole thing, and then what you can do is this is one facing. So you can just go back to facing, do attach, and extend that out a few. And again, it does matter which facing you're clicking on. If I clicked on here, it extended out this way, so it really does matter. Okay, so now maybe you don't want this to just be one color. Okay, you want the white just for, say, the edge, and the rest should be gray. So let's see how we can do that. Let's quickly try to see if we can do that with the circle tool again. But I think we may wind up hitting the... Yeah, we'll just use V. I'm not going to mess around with the circle tool. So make sure you're in paint mode. I was going to use the circle tool to try to overlap this, but it would overlap this as well. And now you can just paint this. So again, make sure it's the V brush. You're choosing paint. And then you've got, oops, sorry, we need our darker gray. And you can just paint. And it's purely arbitrary what you think looks right. There you go. It really is a great tool if you want voxel-looking objects. Now, depending on how big this is, you can actually make it look less and less voxel. In fact, one of the requests someone made was to see an object made in MagicaVoxel exported as an OBJ, which can then be imported into another application such as Rocket 3F. Rocket 3F. So even though it's a 3D modeler, it's called 3F. So Rocket 3F, and then use that to like smooth it out. I still might do that. We'll see. Okay, so almost done. Let's just like put a point on the top here, which means we need to change the y-axis again. So let's bring that up to 70. And let's again click on the move tool, slide the whole thing down. And then we're going to put like a metal cap here. So let's go to, you can use the same gray, or if you want there will be a little bit more variety, you can use a different gray. And then if we do facing, and we click on attach, so again, make sure what brush and what mode you're in. It extends that facing, but now it uses this color. So you're kind of doing two steps at once. You're creating a block and you're painting it. So extend that out one more time. And now we'll just create like a point in the middle here. So if we do, say, B for box, it's already in attach. There you go. And it's kind of going to be a little bit hard to do a point because how many spaces really need an odd amount, and that's an even. So let's see if we can make this a little bit wider. So we just need this to be one wider in every direction. Actually, two wider, I guess. That's flat in the bottom. We'd have to move everything up once, which we can. There we go. All right, so we said we want to move everything up. So we go back to the move tool, bump it up one, and then we go back. So we've got V, we've got attach. There we go. And so you got a bit of a point to the top. As far as whether you like it or not, your mileage may vary. It's probably a little bit too abrupt. We probably need to move everything out one. So if we do facing, move that out one more, move that out one more, and then move the sides out one more. It's not quite symmetrical either. There we go. There. So now you got like a point to it. And so there you go. You now have a scythe that you can use in your voxel-based game. And this can be saved, of course. So you save the project. If you save the project in the Vox folder, in the MagicaVoxel folder, it'll show up here. You can see I have a whole bunch of other stuff that is not here by default. Okay. And you can also, once you save it as a project, you'll also have it available as a pattern, which you use with this tool. I have a separate tutorial showing how to do that. And so what happens is, say you're trying to make like a dungeon environment and you want to hang up a bunch of tools, well, you would switch the pattern and then you'd select the tools that you want, like, there's grave, there's whatever else. And so you can use it as an object within a larger project. So save it as a project, but then also export this as an OBJ into your Unity folder. They'll automatically save 3 files. It will save the OBJ file, it'll save the MTL file, which is a material file, and it'll save a PNG. That I'll have to double check on. Not all 3D modelers save that third one. I'm trying to remember if MagicaVoxel does. Either MagicaVoxel or Rocket 3F does, but you'll always have at least the first two. You'll always have the OBJ and you'll always have the MTL because that's the material. That is the material file. So that should do it. So a simple scythe. And if you have any questions, just let me know. If you have any requests, let me know. And I hope you found this useful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.